Hello, everybody. Today, as we are in Labor Day, in the middle of the day here, getting ready, probably wrapping up, and some of you are getting ready for your very first day of school, and some of you are going back after a nice long weekend. I hope that you found relaxing. Today, I wanted to talk about growth mindset, and I was reading a book that gave me a fresh perspective. I just really wanted to share with you, and I don't want to talk about growth mindset for your students. I think we've talked a lot about that, but I would love to talk about how it relates to you and what you are doing in the classroom and how you can model that for your students. So my name is Jeanette Stein, and I'm an expert at helping teachers of at-risk students just reach those students and to connect with those students and to find success. So today, I always like to start with, if you're joining me live, I would love to see your name and where you're from. And the question of the day, I always like to ask a question a day, get to know you a little bit better. Where do you teach? Do you consider yourself in an urban school, a rural school, suburban, somewhere in between? Would you just share that with me? And if you are catching this as a replay, please know that I always am looking at these replays. I'm always looking at the comments and responding to them because I know we're busy. Teachers might be some of the busiest people on the planet, and we keep really busy between balancing home and trying to care for all the kids that we have in our life. So if you are just now joining me live, I would love to tell you one more time, we're going to talk about growth mindset, how that can help you in your classroom this year and really get your class off to a perfect start. So the first thing I would love to share with you, I'm going to jump right in today, is the first lesson is I would love for you to take a look at, what do you believe about teaching? So what do you believe about teaching? If you are believing everything you see in the media or hear on Facebook or the politics, you're really being fed a lie. And I would ask that you would believe the truth about teaching. The truth about teaching is that it's rewarding. It's about relationships first. It's very, very hard, but it's very, very doable. And this kind of hit me in the face. As you know, I love my Facebook page. I love interacting with you and entertaining you. Sometimes I find fun things, serious things. And sometimes I was finding some jokes that I thought maybe we could all relate to. The problem is we do relate to it, but negativity can be really a habit. And I had a comment from a gentleman. I wish I had taken down his name so I could write him a thank you note. And he put on there something to the effect, I really wish you would just stick to encouraging us as teachers. The politics don't help. And it really broke my heart. So I went through my Facebook page and I deleted anything that was going to come out. Even if I thought it was funny, if it was coming out and it was going to bring you down, if it was going to take you away from the truth about teaching, then I took that off. So you might see some of my posts have been repeating because I had like 3 months of stuff and I took a lot of it off. I wanted to make sure that I am just supporting you with positive things that tell you that kids are teachable, that you do mean something, that you are important. This is rewarding. It is about relationships. Yes, we teach math. Yes, we teach algebra and geometry and algebra 2, and we're teaching hard things. But when we have those relationships, respectful relationships in line, then those things come so much easier. So, I just want to encourage you to really check, what do you believe about teaching? If I could ask you to do one thing tonight, it would be to write down, what are the reasons you got into teaching? What do you truly believe about teaching? And maybe you need to go through Facebook. And I had to seriously go through some math people that I love, that I follow, because I like to stay current in this field. I had to go and unfollow them because seeing the negativity, I noticed that I was using it in my tone. I do not want to share that with you. When there's so many people looking at these Facebook Lives, I want to make sure that I'm telling the truth about teaching. It is the most rewarding and wonderful career that you can get into. Yes, it can be overwhelming. Yes, it's hard. I am not belittling any of that. But let's not buy into some of the lies we see with the politics. Yes, those things are serious, and yes, we should be involved. But when it's just bashing and when it just makes you feel bad, if it makes you feel empowered, go for it. If it makes you feel bad, beat down, hurt, turn it off. Find a way to remove it from your life. Teaching is hard enough. We don't need their negativity. The second thing that I would love to have for you is to stop saying negative things about yourself, and probably way more importantly, and happens way more often, to yourself. I'd like you to think about what you're saying in your head. When you see that certain student maybe walk in that you've struggled with, what are you saying in your head to yourself and about yourself? When you go into the lunchroom, what do you say about yourself? Are you keeping up? Are you loving your job? How are you talking in your head? Are you saying, I'll never reach that kid? This class, I just can't wait for it to be over? Or are you asking yourself meaningful questions? Meaningful questions. How do I reach that student? Wow, I got through to that person today. What are you telling yourself? And in the next Facebook Live, we're going to talk about some of these questions we could ask ourselves that open us up to possibilities, open us up to things that can happen. So I want you to think real quick before we move on from this, because I think it's so very, very important, is I would love for you to think about how do you deal with students who truly feel like they're stupid, that they cannot do it? When you talk to your way in certain ways, are you acting like those students? So I'd like you to check the voice in your head. If it's saying nasty things to you, think, would I say this out loud to a student? Absolutely not. Because it wouldn't encourage them. It wouldn't help them to move forward. So why would you allow it to go on in your head? Take a minute and check it. I've heard from so many teachers this summer, and some of them have been really discouraged. And just a note to administrators, make sure that the tone is one of growth, that people can learn. Teaching is important, and we must build those people up. We must build ourselves up, because right now, the climate, you're not going to get it from many other places. So I'm going to be here to be your cheerleader, to build you up. And I need you to do the same, and we'll do it together. It will be a wonderful experiment, and I can't wait to hear some stories. And then the last thing I would love to remind you is I have been reading some books, and I'm going to show them to you, and they're going to be flipped. And I'll tell you the author. This is from Brooke Saylor. I found her online. I'm not sure if you can get on Amazon or not. It's called This Thing Called Home. And, you know, as busy people, I'm always trying to make my home better for my children and for myself and my husband. I think it's one of the most important things we can do. So I've been reading this book, but she talks a lot about your mindset as a homekeeper and a wife and a mom, and how we talk to ourselves. And this really took me back, because it took me out of my element, because I'm usually thinking about those things as teaching, as a classroom teacher, as my students. How can I do this for my students? Well, this turned it around and made me think, how can I do this for myself? But one of the things that she really stresses in here is that homekeeping, just like teaching, it is a skill. It is not a natural born talent. It is a skill. And if we remember that we can work on one thing a week, whatever that is, this week, I would like you to work on how you talk to yourself. What are the voices in your head? Are they, I've got this, or I'll never get this done? Let's think about what we're saying. Or this isn't done yet. How can I make this better? Okay, I want you to think about how you're talking to yourself in your head, because teaching is a skill. It is not a natural born talent. And we're going to talk even more. I've been talking about this book. It's called Deep Work, and it's by Cal Newport. And Cal is wonderful at helping you see how maybe an hour or two of uninterrupted work can help. We're going to talk later about how we can do that. But I want you to remember, as you go into this new year, teaching is a skill. And one thing that I learned through the years is that these skills need to be worked on. Pardon me, I just hit my desk there. These skills need to be worked on and perfected. And so when we are, playing with these things and thinking about things, sometimes it's really helpful to share with your students. So for me, in my household, in my home growing up as a child, sarcasm was a way of communication. We all understood it. We hardened up to it. It was cool to give. It was cool to take. And we all kind of jumped right on board there. Well, the problem is that bad habit, that bad form of communication. Some people would say sarcasm is the worst form of communication. It is misinterpreted. It is misinterpreted by anybody more often than anybody else. It is bad. It's bad to use in your classroom. And I was very, very guilty of it. And so I went to my students and I said, look, I tell you, you can grow. I'm telling you, I'm trying to grow. I realize I've used this. I think it's funny, but I've noticed some of you aren't finding it funny. It's hurt our relationships. I really want to do better. And I'd say, last week I looked at it. I would guess that I used it probably 50 times or whatever. I made up that number. I said, I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm trying. I don't want you to feel that way. And so by letting them see that I'm trying to grow and get better at things, it makes it safe for them to grow and get better at things. Was I perfect? No. And probably that was better for my students because they could see that I messed up and I kept trying. I had perseverance. And we want to teach that in our students all the time. So I hope you've got some ideas on how you can go into your classroom ready for tomorrow, ready to show them the world. You've got a brand new set, or maybe you've got them a couple weeks ago, but these new people are learning about you. They're learning about themselves. And I want to help you to do the very best you can do. So let's just remember, we were talking about growth mindset, not in our students, but in ourselves, so that we can model it well for our students and so that we can show them what we mean, show them we're willing to do what we say we want them to do. So that old adage, do what I say, not what I do, it never went anywhere. It never meant anything. So let's show these students what a growth mindset looks like. Let's show them what's possible when we really put our mind towards something. So the first thing we talked about is really checking what you believe. Check what you believe and know what's true about teaching. We talked about rewarding relationships, that it's hard, but it's also doable. But the second thing we talked about is stop saying negative things to yourself. Change that word around. Add the word yet. I can't do this yet is a great way to do it. And the third thing that we talked about is that it's not a talent. It's a skill that needs hours and hours of practice. And some of us have had opportunities to practice. Some of us had younger siblings we had to help train up or raise or babysit or however you want to word that. Seen some nasty criticism of people who use the word train on social media. I don't mean any disrespect at all. But if you've had that experience of having to be a positive role model to people younger, you've had practice in that skill. That is not a natural born talent. Some people would say, I've always been good at teaching, or I've always been good with this. Well, how much time did you spend doing it? You felt good at it, and so you did it more often. You developed that skill. You worked really hard at it. Now, my skill was definitely teaching. My skill was not organization, but I'm going to share with you some of the things I did to stop feeling so overwhelmed. And so that was a skill I really had to work on. And that is why I'm reading that book. I'm still working on that skill. It can always get better. I want more peace, to be more peaceful. I want to enjoy what I'm doing. I want to enjoy my students. I want to enjoy my kids. And so if we can remember those three things, we really are on our way to a wonderful, wonderful school year. Now, I did want to share with you that if you are considering joining us in the membership, we are starting a series for members only. And I just put in the comments a link for any members that might be watching. If you're not part of this private Facebook group, we are going to be starting a daily training where I am encouraging you on these mindsets. And I'm going to be encouraging you on organization and how to feel more peaceful and get more done so that you have more time for the things you love. If you'd like to join us in the membership, you can get all of your Algebra 1 lessons as well as all of your geometry lessons for $1 for the next 7 days. See if it's a good fit. I'll send you an email at the end of 7 days, let you know that you're going to be billed. If you'd like to stay on, it's only $39 a month. About the price if you take your family of 4 through the McDonald's drive-through. And for that, you get all of your Algebra 1 lessons, your geometry lessons, any trainings we've done in the past, as well as any trainings we're going to do in the future. You also have access to that very private Facebook group. Only members can get into there. So if you are a paying member, there's a link there, and it will only work if you're logged in. I want that to be a safe place where we can share about our struggles as well as our successes. So I take a minute. I want to just ask you if you want to join, please join us. And then click that link and get into our private Facebook group. I'm really looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you so much and have a great day.